It's one of the most wonderful days of the year. It is Super Bowl Sunday. Happy Super Bowl Sunday to you and yours. I hope you are settled in and ready to watch some Broncos connections beat Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. Here's to hoping that obviously Denver boy Christian McCaffrey can get it done. Another Denver boy Kyle Shanahan can get it done. Former Denver safety John Lynch drafting the team. Former Denver Bronco Randy Gregory maybe getting some sacks. I think I'll root for it today and today only. But in this video, I'm going to break down the Denver Broncos Super Bowl victories, which one I think was the sweetest. And what I'm truly excited about is reading all of your comments of which of the Broncos Super Bowl seasons and trips was most memorable and exciting to you as you think back to it. If you're new to this channel, my name is Ben. I break down all things Denver sports, and it's truly a pleasure to have you here, and it helps me out if you would like and subscribe. I found this graphic on Reddit. I thought it was super fascinating, and it is the logo of all of the losing teams of Super Bowls throughout the year. And I think as Broncos fans, it's easy to get discouraged and complacent. We haven't made the playoffs in 8 years, but we also have to remember just how insanely lucky we are, and that other than maybe like the Patriots of recently, you wouldn't want to be any other team than us. Like, we have been to more Super Bowls than a lot of franchises have won playoff games. I think of my brother-in-laws who are diehard Bears fans, and they haven't won the Super Bowl or made it. Well, I guess they made it against the Colts, but 1985, before either of them were born. And I just look here, like, we've been to the Super Bowl a lot, which means we're one of the best teams in the league, and we've lost some, we've won some. Looking here at 86 and 87 losing. Obviously, the absolute gut punch right here, losing in 2013. That was the snap over Peyton Manning's head against Russell Wilson, the Seattle Seahawks. But I'm going to relive our 3 Super Bowls. What are the standout moments to me? And at the end, I'm going to weigh in and tell you which of the ones was my favorite. So let's start with the first. This one's for John. The Denver Broncos Super Bowl 32, the 1998 season. I actually, crazy enough, still have the hat that I got. This was the first time I was really in love with the Denver Broncos. I fell in love with them in 1996 season, the year they lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars in the playoffs. And what makes this playoff win and this Super Bowl win so amazing is just like kind of the run. Like, you hear so many of those former guys, Romanowski, Big Al, Terrell Davis, all say that it was the loss to the Jacksonville Jaguars, a team that everyone looked past. They were an expansion team, new to the NFL, and like nobody thought they were going to somehow beat John Elway, and they did. And so it's incredible to see that fueled the Denver Broncos in Super Bowl 32. And if you look just kind of at some of the big things of that Super Bowl that stand out to me, obviously the fact Terrell Davis, league MVP, he had a really, really bad migraines that game. You remember where at the end he couldn't even see straight, and Shanahan would tell him, be in the game, we're going to pretend to hand it off to you. They need to think that we might hand it off to you. And so just seeing Terrell Davis's grit, seeing that they finally won a game for John Elway was so incredible, and hearing Pat Bowlen at the end say, this one's for John. And then one of the really cool things was that we were a wild card team. Even though we finished, I think we had 12-4, the Kansas City Chiefs actually won the division that year. And we kind of had to do a revenge tour to get to the Super Bowl. So our first game as a wild card team in that playoffs was against the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I just remember being nervous about it, watching it with my dad, and just spanking him and being like, hey, this is the year. This 1997-98 year was actually the first year I started collecting the front page of the sports section of the Denver Post. Still have them all in my parents' basement. And I just remember this run that it was a revenge tour. We beat all the teams that had beat us. We went to Jacksonville. We went to Kansas City, went to Pittsburgh to make the Super Bowl. And then we had to play the defending champs, the Packers. And I think we were like 10-point dogs in this game. And we came out and we played Denver Bronco football, and seeing Steve Atwater and his hits and that final drive with Brett Favre, they were driving down the field. I think they had just crossed midfield, and it was 4th and 6, and John Mobley obviously having the famous batted ball, and we beat Brett Favre and we won the first Super Bowl. Incredible memory, really stands out to me. We go to the next Super Bowl, Super Bowl 33. The following year, we didn't let up, didn't relent whatsoever, and it seemed all year as if the collision course was going to be Denver Broncos against the Minnesota Vikings. So that was really kind of the way that everything was setting up, and you see the curse of the Minnesota Vikings really kind of starting then, at least in my mind, and Atlanta Falcons somehow beat them. And you remember with the Atlanta Falcons, they had the Dirty Bird, that dance that was really popular, and there was the just kind of feuding touchdown celebrations between the Dirty Bird and the Terrell Davis Mile High Salute. And amazing thing that the play of the game that really stands out to me with that was really early on in the game where Rod Smith caught an 80-yard bomb from John Elway. I'll link it in the description here, but it's just crazy to watch the video of that and just see John Elway's arm strength, that he really is like Josh Allen. Like, he is built different, and it's cool to go back and watch that and just see Rod Smith and Ed McCaffrey. I watched that game with my family too. I was in middle school again, and I went to Huron Middle School. Shout out North Glen, Colorado. And we had a weird rule. Hit me up in the comments if you had this too, that somehow pro teams were gang related. And so we couldn't wear professional teams when I was in middle school, which I've worked in a ton of schools since then as an educator, and I've never seen that rule before. And I don't feel like there's a ton of gangs in like ritzy Westminster where I grew up. But so the only time you got to wear professional gear was the day after the Super Bowl for both of those. So that was a pretty cool thing as a young fan who's fallen in love with the Broncos and fallen in love with the game. But this game was a blowout. I remember I never was worried about it. I think we were up 17-6 at half, and they just had gotten nothing moving, and our defense was banging on all cylinders, and we ended up just kind of blowing them out 34-19. So that stands out quite a bit as well. And then most recently, 17 years later, you go for, the Denver Broncos went through Jake Plummer. After that, they had Jay Cutler. They had they tried Brian Greasy. They tried a lot of dudes. We had hope with Tim Tebow, and it was a long 17-year stretch there as a Denver Broncos fan. We made a couple AFC championships. I remember that when I was in college, and just getting really close. I remember the really 99-yard interception against the New England Patriots with Champ Bailey, and thinking, oh, this team could do it. This team could do it. And then we had Tebow, and we won that amazing playoff game, and we finally get back to the Super Bowl 17 years later, Super Bowl 50. With Peyton Manning, after just having lost the Super Bowl with Peyton, playing his mind out just a few years earlier when Peyton Manning is setting all these single-season throwing titles. We lose to the Seattle Seahawks in the Super Bowl, and now we go as underdogs again to the Panthers, the Carolina Panthers. That they had Cam Newton. They had Julius Peppers. Y'all remember him. They were a decent squad. I remember the pump-up video had Steph Curry being like, Cam's the man. And you had Cam Newton picked over Von Miller in the NFL draft, and you have Cam Newton against Von Miller. You had Peyton Manning then throw 9 touchdowns to 17 interceptions. His ratio that year, he played horrible. But he's the sheriff. He's PFM, and he did exactly enough to win Super Bowl 50. And so those are the 3 Denver Broncos Super Bowls. And to me, the one that stands out the most, obviously there's nothing like winning your first Super Bowl. But I was in 7th grade or 6th grade then, and I'd really just started to love the Denver Broncos. And so I hadn't even understood what it was like to lose. And so to me, the one that means the most is definitely Super Bowl 50. I borrowed a projector from my work, projected it on a massive wall. My wife was pregnant with our son now, who the Denver Broncos had not beat the Chiefs since he was in her womb. That's how long ago it was till this year. And he was on that episode when the Broncos beat them. But to me, the one that stands out is that being able to watch that with my dad, after 17 years of watching the Broncos fall short, it just meant so much more. And I look forward to continuing to grow this channel, watch the Broncos as they're rebuilding back to that moment, back to the mountaintop, because rest assured, we are Denver Broncos fans. We will rise back to the top because we always giddy up. Broncos country,